welcome back to another episode of the Blockbuster Brothers. Today we're covering the documentary on HBO, Until the Wheels Come Off. It is a documentary about I'm not going to say probably, the greatest vert skateboarder of all time, Mr. 900 himself, Tony Hawk. Steven, you had a chance to check it out. What'd you think?
Absolutely. Brian, you're falling off a little bit because it's not come off. It's until the wheels fall off. Come on.
Oh, gosh. You know
Yeah.
what? We're leaving it in there because we're raw and we keep it real. And we don't hide nothing.
We don't hide nothing. But I'll tell you what, this documentary didn't hide anything. It was a very intimate experience and one of the best documentaries I've seen in the last 5 years. I think this delved into Tony's emotional journey through his fame, getting a family earlier than expected, his career. It was just really beautiful, man. And if anybody should watch this documentary, because Brian and I grew up in the time where Tony Hawk was a big figure. The video games in particular, everybody knew, but
Huge.
nobody really, unless you were involved in skateboarding, no one really knew the story of how it came to be and its dips in popularity and culture before it became cemented as, like, let's say, like a mid-tier sport compared to football or whatever. And so just like, dude, I found myself tearing up a few times. There were some really emotional moments, and the thing that really stuck out for me is Tony Hawk is no different than Kobe Bryant or Tiger Woods when it comes to mentality. That guy wanted to win and beat everybody no matter what. And he was beyond focus to the point where his personal life suffered a little bit. And it was just really interesting to get a look into this legend and his life. A little bit difficult of a childhood. You know, he never really dealt with his feelings. He just skated through them, literally. That was like a big thing. And the doc is called Until the Wheels Fall Off because this guy is doing stupid expletive even to this day. Like, he's just pushing it. And at 50, whatever he is, I don't know. So I guess I know it was made in 2022 and it's a little old, but I'm really happy I added to my list a while ago. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah, man, I don't know what it was about like the 90s, but there was a couple athletes that were just so dominant. And I think Tony Hawk, sometimes skateboarding maybe falls a little backseat to some of the other sports. It's a little bit more underground, not as mainstream, and not saying that it's not, because, everybody played Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Those games are iconic. Just like, I honestly kind of put him in the area of like Tiger Woods and like Derek Jeter. And there was something about, that era where I think maybe part of it is Tony Hawk, his demeanor and personality. He's a reserved guy, at least, So Steven watched the documentary. I didn't get a chance to check it out, but obviously know Tony Hawk a lot. And now hearing this, I'm definitely going to go check out this documentary. I don't think it got enough buzz. But he's, it was more reserved. People, the celebrities and athletes kept to themselves. I think without social media, it was a different world. So you weren't privy into seeing the behind the scenes into these guys' life. And you know what? I don't know if there's a sport maybe besides, the fighting sports where, it's so volatile with injury. And I've myself have dealt with a few injuries in my life, and it's tough. And to think about doing a sport where you're constantly putting your body on the line, it's got to take not only a physical toll, but an extreme mental toll. And, dealing with the fan, it's tough to feel sorry for somebody who's, gets so rich off of it. Life always strives for balance. So that's kind of the balance of the positives, that fame and the money that gets you, is that you got to deal with, extra crap, and everyone wants a piece of you. And that's the price you pay. And, I think it's easy not to feel bad for that. It's kind of like, hey, this is, kind of the belly of the beast. But I think, in terms of professional athletes, Tony Hawk doesn't get enough credit. He is such a legend, and I want to get to see and hear a little bit more of his psychological and physical prep, because he was dominant, man, and he was doing stuff that nobody was doing, and really pushed the envelope. And I don't know if we've heard or had a skateboarder transcend, or ever will have a skateboarder transcendent pop culture as much as Tony Hawk did. Talk about legendary names. I don't even, it's just iconic, and Tony is that. And seems like, if someone were to be that, he's a pretty great and humble dude, and it seems to be a pretty good father as well. But as far as we know, people hide stuff all the time.
Yeah,
That's
well,
kind of dark. I don't
yeah, Brian. No, well, he did have some moments in his life and throughout his adulthood and childhood that were really kind of troublesome and made his life more difficult. Some he brought upon himself. So you heard it here from at least one of the Blockbuster brothers, one of the best documentaries I've seen in the last 5 years. Brian's going to go check it out. Let us know if you've watched it or are going to check it out. We'd love to hear what you think. Thank you so much for being here.